Hey, what's going on, LinkedIn? So today we're going live and we go talk about LinkedIn. And we have a very special guest. She lives in my city, so usually we have guests from out of town. But today we have Tracy Anyos, and she's an author. She wrote a book about LinkedIn. She also consults Fortune 500 teams on how to use LinkedIn. So I'm super excited to introduce her, and I'm going to go ahead and bring our hosts up. We have Jeremy and Eldrick, our usual suspects, from Singapore. And Eldrick's in the sales space, and Jeremy is in marketing. So I thought it's really good as we ask Tracy questions in regards to how do you utilize LinkedIn from a marketing perspective or even a sales perspective without being annoying, right? So let's bring Tracy
I love
up.
that keyword.
Annoying?
Yeah, I love that keyword. Okay.
So we have Tracy here. So Tracy,
Hi,
say hi
everybody.
to everyone.
How are ya?
Yep.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi there. All the way in Singapore. Look, I've spoken in Dubai, Australia, Germany, UK, but never Japan. Or Singapore. This is great. I love it.
So it's definitely we have quite an audience supposedly tonight, and as people are starting to hop on, I just want to say hi to everyone. So let's go ahead and get started, right? Tracy, so from my experience on LinkedIn, over the years, it started out as a recruiting platform for a lot of companies to look for talent, and then it became a sales funnel platform, for a while where people utilize it to hunt, right, in order to find prospects. And now it's become more, I would say, a social media platform where people are sharing their feelings, their thoughts, ideas. And just like any other social platform, there's this I call time clock, right? So as we talk about, is LinkedIn dead, right, tonight? So we might want to rephrase that a little. It's because we don't know how to use it correctly, right? So let's talk about that a little bit, because I am sure between Eldrick, Jeremy, and yourself, you have full of, I would say, crap in your inbox, right?
I have crap in there too. Trust me.
Yep. And why is that, right? So let's start there. And why is there just so much messages in the inbox to the point, if you're a busy professional, how do you keep up? And why is there so much junk in there?
Well, let's start with a statistic. How's that? All right.
Perfect.
All right. So pandemic started March 2020. So the first 60 days of the lockdown, LinkedIn did a study, and I didn't get this email until May of 2020, but they said the first 60 days of the lockdown in 2020 had a 55% engagement, more so than all of 2019. That's fabulous, So I got a clue. I was like, So I went to my Sales Navigator. For those of you who are on here don't know what that is, that's LinkedIn's prospecting tool, and I recommend that you get it. I've had it for like 8 years now. I won't give it up. Grandfathered in, everything. Anyway, so I went there and they had a little filter. It says, I could filter out people that just joined LinkedIn by anywhere from up to a week up to 6 months. So I did in the last 30 days worldwide, how many people joined LinkedIn? It was over 3 million people. Like this, it took the pandemic. I mean, it was growing steadily before that, but it took the pandemic for it to really explode, because there was around, I guess, 500 some thousand people, and now it's over 810,000. Million. Why am I saying thousand? Million. I've been at this talking all day, so forgive me. But yeah, so over 810 million people and that was probably a few weeks ago, and so I'm sure more than that. But yeah, absolutely. And so, Kevin, you said that LinkedIn is now turned into a social media. And I think a lot of people are seeing that because the news feed has changed a lot. The content in the news feed has changed a lot. But don't forget that LinkedIn is still a place to develop relationships one-on-one. That's where your inbox come in. That's where Sales Navigator comes in. That's your networking on steroids. And you can still, I mean, I know a lot of people are making 6-7 figures and they don't even post content at all. They're not using it as a social media platform. They're developing partnerships and they're getting prospect pipelines, and they're developing, people that know people that can introduce them. So referrals. And that's really what I teach people most. That's the basic thing that you should do first. And I tell people, like, the LinkedIn has got a lot of bells and whistles to it. There's a lot of moving parts and it overwhelms a lot of people. But the first thing you should do on LinkedIn is create a campaign. Let's get back to basics for what LinkedIn was. After it, it changed from being, a platform built for recruiters, hiring managers, people to find candidates for open positions for the jobs. It's now turned into what it is today. And it's the members that changed it. LinkedIn didn't change. The members changed it.
Yep.
And so LinkedIn started to see how people were using it, and they changed with us. And so I tell people, look, get back to basics. And then once you have that campaign going and it's a well-oiled machine, then start adding in the other moving parts that LinkedIn has to offer.
Okay, so let's just take it back really quick, right? So before someone can even start a campaign, right? Let's say they're starting from scratch on LinkedIn. So you got to start off with your profile, right? So let's talk about that. What are ways for people to improve their profile? So this is, I know it's very 101, and a lot of you guys that are on LinkedIn have a profile, but how do you know if your profile is strong and good enough to connect whenever you start these campaigns, right? Because I think the old way was, hey, my job title's on the very top, I have a professional picture, and some people have the spider web thing, and other people have a stock photo of some sort. And then the summary is usually, they talk about themselves from almost like a
third person
looking for a job perspective. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I know in your book and also in your services, that's something you provide, some one-on-one coaching.
Right.
Yep.
Well, it all starts with the profile. Look, 99% of your activities on LinkedIn are tied to your personal profile. Company pages are wonderful, and they've actually added some additional features to company pages. Like, for example, in the newsfeed, you can now comment as your company page, or your personal profile. But the personal profile still has all, it's still 99% of all your activities comes back to you. Right. And so what I think people do is they get on LinkedIn, and there's a couple things that they do. Okay, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm going to spend, half hour filling out a couple sections and I'm good to go. Right. Without even thinking of why they're there. Right. So what people really need to do is sit back and decide, okay, what are my business objectives for being on LinkedIn? Right. And secondly, what are my goals? What are my 3-month, 6-month, 12-month goals? Now, don't forget, LinkedIn is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? You got to crawl before you walk before you run, right? So what people need to do is take this offline and figure out what that foundation work is. Who are you trying to attract and target, right? What are the demographics of those people, right? Where's their geography? What's the industry? What are the titles? What's their function? Right. And so we can even dive deeper into the psychographics. I'm a big Dan Kennedy fan, if those of you who know who Dan Kennedy is. And so I kind of learned this from him, is like, what influencers do they follow? What publications do they read? Are they online, offline? Are they married? Do they have kids? Are they, what age group are they? We could really dive deep, and I'm going to go into that today.
But what you mentioned, Tracy, actually is marketing 101. The way you're looking at it is, it's exactly marketing.
Yeah. And what I tell people when I coach them is, look, what we're doing here right now, this exercise is very applicable to any other marketing that you're doing, whether it's offline, through snail mail or email marketing or other social platforms, right? Yes. But also what people don't realize too is LinkedIn's a search engine. And so what we need to do in order to get found organically is to brainstorm keywords. So we got to dive deep into who our prospect is. What are they typing into that search bar to find you or the person that can solve a problem? whether that's a product, a service, you know, a referral, a joint venture partner, whatever your, you know, your business objectives are. And so start getting into the prospect and thinking like them and go, okay, we have our own internal jargon, right? And that's what everybody wants to put in their profile is their internal jargon. And a lot of times their prospects don't speak that. So it's like going to the doctor and he tells you, you know, what's wrong with you. And he does all this medical jargon and you're just like deer in the headlight, right? Like, yeah, come back down to earth, doc, you know, give me it in layman's terms, right? Something that I can understand. You need to do the same with your prospect. So speak like your prospect. And what we do is we brainstorm up to 50 keywords, excuse me. And then we pick our top few, the ones that are like, a lot of times it happens to be what our service is or the name of our product or something like that, right? And then we put those in the profile strategically, of course, you know. And so, you know, we're going to be doing a lot of direct outreach, but we still want people to find us organically for when they're searching for certain keywords, right? Yep. So, but there's a lot more that we do in the foundation work. We research our competitors. We get a pulse on what they're up to, and not just their LinkedIn, but we'll go to their websites, their other social media. We'll check out ads. We'll go look at their company pages. I mean, we're pretty thorough. And then we go in and we also, you know, use the same strategies and look up our potential clients, you know, as well. So we take time before we ever really craft a profile to do that.
And I think you brought up a huge point, you know, in the marketing world. A lot of people don't know. Like if you punch in your name on Google or any search engine, oftentimes your LinkedIn profile comes up before anything else, right?
Oh, absolutely. Look, you could throw thousands of dollars a month at SEO in your website and your LinkedIn profile is going to show up before your website is.
So really think about that. And Tracy brought up an awesome point that a lot of people don't think about. Keywords within the body of your LinkedIn summary, right? The spiders crawl, and when they crawl certain keywords, and a lot of people aren't thinking about it. Even if you're someone looking for a new job or a new career, that's still important, not just for prospecting, right? If you're a software engineer looking for a job, hey, you want to showcase, hey, what language do you write? Is it Java? You know, what kind of stack are you working with? Those are important things that you can put into the whatever text you have within your LinkedIn profile. And I think a lot of times people miss that, right? They're just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Great, you know, but what else? You know, there's 5,000 other software engineers within a 10-mile radius who are software engineers.
Right. So well, here's a tip for everybody who's looking for a position. Treat the employer like you're the business owner and that's your prospect. So you're going to develop your profile. What can you do for that employer? They know that, you know, your what your certifications are and this and that, and it's not all about you. What's in it for them? Right. So same thing that we do as business owners with finding, you know, sales. What's in it for the prospect? At the end of the day, they want to know. They don't care that you've gotten, you know, all these awards and you've written all these books and you've been, you know, guests, you know, or talked about it in the news or whatever. What they care about at the end of the day is what can you do for me and what kind of results can I expect working with you? So treat the employer the same way. Here's what you can expect from me if you hire me. You know, here's what I'm going to bring to the table. Here's how it's going to benefit you. You know, here's how I'm different than the competition or every other applicant, you know, that's going to apply for this position. And trust me, if anybody's ever looked into the LinkedIn jobs tab up there, a lot of times these positions that are open, you can apply with your profile.
Yeah.
It's called fast application. And that's where you want your profile to stand out above all the rest of the applicants.
Here's a question. Here's a question for you, Tracy. Since we talk about keywords, right? Does it make a difference if you use that same keyword multiple times, or is once enough?
No. So Kevin said something. Oh, that was really strong, wasn't it? I'm sorry. Kevin said, just put it in your summary or your about summary. No. We take those our best keywords that we have identified, and we sprinkle them all throughout the profile, you know? So
That's a good tip. Yeah.
Yeah, we have some copywriting techniques. So we don't, some of these other gurus, all they're saying is you need a really cool background photo, a great headline, and your about summary. And then, of course, your very first work experience. I think not. No, we have these little advanced strategies that we use, and we fill out the whole profile, like all of it. So not only should the profile speak to your ideal prospect or employer or business partner or whatnot, but it's also the human side. We call that H2H, human to human, right? Dilly, do I like you? Diddy, do I trust you? Right? Because you have to understand, oftentimes this is somebody's first touch with your profile, right? They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. You could put anything that you want in your profile, right? But when you have the human side of you, people like to perceive that they like you, that they trust you, and that they want to talk to you. It's all about perception.
So,
That's really good.
so then the question is, how do you make people like you or trust you in your profile? Right? That should be the next logical question.
So you fill out your volunteer work. You talk about organizations that not just the ones that you belong to, like let's say the Chamber of Commerce or, industry organizations that you're in, but how about your personal organizations? What if you monetarily, like for example, I got a lot of military folks that we talk to. What if you support wounded warriors? Right?
That's good.
That's not a volunteer job, right? But you monetarily give to wounded warriors, right? Put that in there because that's the human side of you. Look, trust me, I've been on podcasts because I have my military experience and it's non-traditional education, but I have it in my education. And that means somebody scrolled through the profile past the job experience to see that. And he says, I don't interview anybody unless they've been in the military, period. That's how I got on this podcast. Had I not put that in there, I wouldn't have. I had a client, he was an industrial and commercial roofer. He had 20 years experience in the military, but he refused to put it in his profile. And I asked him why, and he goes, well, I'm mad at the military. And I said, well, you know what? I appreciate how you feel about the military, but trust me, who are the people that you actually talk to when you go face to face? Who are these guys that own, or girls that own these buildings, these industrial buildings and the commercial buildings? Most of the time they're men, right? And I said, a lot of times they have military experience or family member that does. Now you're likable because you have something in common. He already likes you because you were in the military, and either he has the experience or somebody they knows has military experience, right? So be mad at the military all you want, but this is what's going to get you jobs. So years ago, Kevin, you've been on here for a while, right? How many years have you been on LinkedIn?
So I'm old school. So I started in 04.
Oh, wow. You're 5 years ahead of me. Wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
Okay. So you remember the interest section, right? In the profile? Yep. Okay. You remember how people would like write a whole sentence in the intersection?
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, the intersection was where you could put your human interests, like I play golf or fishing or stuff like that. The fun side of you, right? We actually reverse engineered that and put our keywords in there and then filtered in some personal stuff in there too. But here's an analogy that I gave somebody. What if you were in Kansas City and you were looking for an estate lawyer? Right. So you get on LinkedIn and you find 2 estate lawyers, and they're pretty much the Cadillacs of lawyers, estate lawyers, and they're pretty much apples to apples. Right. So you just don't know which one you're going to call first. But so you go through the profiles and you found one that actually happened to be an avid golfer. Well, you just happen to love golfing as well. Which one of those 2 lawyers are you more likely to call first?
The one who golfs.
The one who golfs, right? So that's what I talked about when we have the likability factor, the human side of you. People want to see that. So if it resonates with them because you volunteered, for a certain, organization, or you support organizations or anything like that, people are more likely going to respond to your connection request and respond to your message in LinkedIn, as long as it's not spammy and, and going straight for the buy. You know, that's really how you start to develop relationships with people. It's just like us having a conversation right here, maybe over a glass of wine or a beer at the bar, and you get to know each other, right? You ask questions in personal, do you have family? Do you have kids? So it's very,
all males
gotta be likable.
All males in Singapore probably have military experience.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
So
you are like us already.
It's required.
Yes, mandatory.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, but I think Tracy brought up like some great points, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we overthink when we hop on LinkedIn, right? It's not very different than when you walk into a networking event. Who's going to talk to you if the first thing you do is talk about, hey, here's 5 things I'm selling? You don't even ask them, hey, what's your name? How's the day going? Hey, notice you're drinking.
Why are you here?
This kind of beer. I like
this.
this kind of beer too. You have to break the ice, right?
Right.
You don't just start out, here's my software. I need $5,000 from you.
Right. Absolutely. You know what? Another thing too, if you guys go read my about section, like I have like the couple questions, and I'm probably not everybody here is a country music fan, but Toby's Keith song, I want to talk about me. And that's what a lot of I got Aldrich laughing. Aldrich is laughing over there. That's what people do. They're still doing it. Like, Kevin, you've been on since 2004. I've been on since 2009, and I'm still running into profiles where it's all about me. Like today, I was looking at a CEO of actually a digital marketing agency in Atlanta, a big one. Like they have like clients like John Cena and Nickelodeon and, University of Phoenix and HBO. I'm like, wow. So I went to his profile, and guess what it was? It was something that was probably built 20 years ago. It's all about him and his accomplishments in third person and the title. No headline, just my title, CEO of XYZ company. And I was like, oh, people are still doing this, and you're a marketing agency. Shame on you.
And I think too, people forget just because you're an agency, right, or a marketer, you have to know, like, okay, example, there's doctors and then there's surgeons, right? There's heart surgeons, there's specialists for cancer. It's the same thing in the marketing realm, right? I might run an agency that helps small to mid-sized businesses, and I do a good job at that. But hey, I might not be like a LinkedIn expert like someone like Tracy, because that's all she does. Day in, day out, she looks at LinkedIn profiles and she works with people on a one-to-one basis, right? That's her cup of tea, is her specialty. So think about that. I always tell people, you got to be wary of marketers that said they can do it all, right? I am okay. I tell my clients every day, hey, this is not the type of agency we are. This is not what I do. And I am completely fine going, hey, here's a referral. Go pay these guys, Because if you're an agency and you're not very big, but you tell people you can do it all, most likely you can't do any of it well.
Oh yes. In fact, I was going into some of the job boards because I like to research. So I'm just playing in there. And some of these positions, especially for this marketing agency, they expected them to know everything about every single social media platform. I'm like, who can do that? You can't do that. And they wanted at least 5 to 7 years experience. Okay. I mean, I'm dangerous on other platforms, but I'm not an expert at them.
Oh, that's my favorite, especially when you look at mid-sized companies when they have marketing position, and it's like videographer, editing, web development, SEO, analytics, and then they list all the social media platforms, and then preferably 2 years and up. And I was like, what kid's gonna know after 2 years like all these things?
They're not. They've been playing on TikTok for the last 2 years.
I was like, it's impossible. Yep. So we got talk about some good things about the profile and how to, hey, make sure your profile, you're sprinkling the keywords and talk like a human and connect with people. So that's super important. So let's talk about, I think if anyone's on LinkedIn recently, you'll notice, I would say right before the pandemic, you can do these long form posts and garner like engagement, like crazy engagement. I'm talking about, all my posts I think had 300 plus views, everything up to like 1,000 to 2,000 views. And then it was easy to get like 30 people engaging, right? But recently it's changed, right? You're not getting as much engagement, right? So how do you gain engagement on your posts?
Well, okay, so let me share a story with you. So sometimes it's don't do as I do, do as I say, kind of like what your parents told you growing up. So last year I've been pretty spotty in the content area, right? Off on. And LinkedIn finally started dinging people for being not consistent and posting content. And not just any content, I mean, not just content period, but good content. So last, I think it was, I just looked at it the other day. It was last summer. Yeah, late summer. I think it was July, August. I started doing some posts, and some of my posts were 40 to 50,000 views on them. And then my father had a miniature stroke and ended up with a brain bleed. So I quit posting. I was more concentrating on family stuff. And then when I started to go post again, guess what? Nothing. Crickets. Like I'm getting just a few likes here, a few likes there. I'm maybe hitting 1,000 views. The last post I just did this week, like 300 views. Like it just tanked. So what LinkedIn is trying to tell you is when you're consistent, stay consistent. So the people that you see, first of all, in the newsfeed that are like, and I don't mean Gary Vaynerchuk because, he has a team of a gazillion people that do all social media, but I'm talking about, some of the, and I'm connected to some of these people that, that are getting really big numbers on there. And they're mostly inspirational or motivational posts. And then they post the photos, selfie photos or professional photos of themselves. Those actually get a lot of views, but don't get discouraged because they didn't get to where they are right now overnight. Two things they did. One, they used a pod. And actually a couple of these people have even mentioned that, and they just let the cat out of the bag. Yep. We had an advantage and we used a pod. And for those, what a pod is you get a group of people that will go like each other and comment on each other's posts in a certain amount of time once the post was published. So they had a leg up and they were gaming the algorithm. And two, they were consistent. And so LinkedIn likes consistency. And so don't worry about these people that are getting, gajillions likes and comments and stuff like that. Worry about your network, your prospect, your goals, your business objectives, and develop content that follow that. And then you've got to test out your content because, one post might be a home run and then 2 weeks of posts they'll flop, right? So start keeping track of your posts and the ones that actually do well and start creating more content that is similar to that. But you also want to change it up. You don't want to be talking about me, and my business, I'm selling this, I'm selling this. No, you want to educate people. You want to entertain people. So keep 90% of education and entertainment, 10% your business.
That's really good. Yeah. So for the audience out there, keep in mind, she said 90%, keeping it casual, fun, and 10%
sell.
Right? So,
sell.
But you see the opposite a lot on most people who are professionals on social media platform, right? And then you brought up a great point too, like the engagement pods, right? There's also like these automated pods that you can go into. The problem with those are, okay, so most likely if you've been around on LinkedIn long enough, you've seen these influencers all of a sudden disappear and they say, oh, somehow LinkedIn, locked me out of my account and I can't get back in, so I have to start a new profile. Most likely, they were in one of these automated engagement pods and they got flagged, okay? LinkedIn does not just randomly, lock people out and kick them out. Right. Okay, I can attest to this. I've been on this thing since 2004. So you did something no, and the LinkedIn police caught you, and you're out of there, and now you got to start over. And that's why. So be wary. And some people, I think they jump into these things not knowing. Okay? And these are not just like people on LinkedIn messaging group. This is like, there are pods, there are tools out there where they put their posts on, you hit a button, and then all these people curate and hit. And it's dangerous too, because I have clients that had their LinkedIn taken away because they're on there. And as an agency, we have to try to figure out how to get it back. And also, it's horrible to be on these things because the way it's targeted. Tracy brought up, you have to have an objective when you're on LinkedIn. Who's your target audience? We talk about this a lot in marketing, right?
Yep.
But when you're on these pods, you're connected with everybody that's on these things, right? So there's no targeting. It's the same thing that happened on Facebook. My worst customers are the people that buy likes and stuff. Because what happened is, now as an agency, I can't look at the analytics because it's all over the place. Because half of their targets in Philippines or in India. And it's like, okay, you're here in Kansas City. I can't help you. It's like, but it's showing me, all your analytics shows me India or Japan. It's like, okay.
China.
So you have to be very careful. And some of these people didn't know when they got into it. Or someone told them, some coach told them, hey, this is how, you start off with a bang because you're a big brand, so you should buy 5,000 followers before even launching your shoe brand or whatever, right?
Or somebody got into their inbox and said, here's a demo, sign up for $35 a month and we'll get you thousands of likes.
Yep. So be wary of those things because it will impact you and it'll affect your profile. And sometimes just because someone has 30,000, 40,000, and I'm sure all four of us can attest to this, right? It doesn't mean they're killing it from a business perspective. Just because you have followers doesn't mean you can afford your mortgage.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I get that all the time. They're like, well, I want to get the 100 likes. I want to get the, 50,000, 100,000 views. And I'm like, that's great, but that's just vanity metrics. Does that equate to dollars? Mm-hmm. Look, I've had clients with as little as 10 or even 19 likes. I say 19 because this is a real story. And they ended up getting a $2,500 a month consulting contract. That's $30K, guys. With 19 likes, and the worst selfie I'd ever seen at a lawyer conference, but it worked. He had the right message and it wasn't polished, and it was a very vulnerable photo, here I am, kind of thing. It was grainy but we worked with it and he got a consulting client out of it. I mean, it was amazing. So don't think that these guys that have, these large numbers of followers, and Kevin, we should talk about the difference between connections and followers too.
Yep. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just don't think, and I'm not saying they're not making money, but when you get to a point like that, how can you follow up with people that have engaged with your content? Like when it's like blows up on you. I don't care how good of a VA you have, they'll spend all day on one post and not get to everybody. Right. So, yeah.
Hey,
so
Jacqueline, thanks for logging in. Looks like quite a few people are starting to hop on now. So, yeah.
Oh, well, they probably had dinner and had a glass of wine and they're ready to go. So yeah, let's talk about followers and connections. So I get this all the time. People are like, what? So now I don't know if a lot of people know this, but LinkedIn has another feature for your profiles called creator mode. And in creator mode, there are some benefits and there are some disadvantages of it. So the benefits are that you get that little 30-second video on your profile photo. So if you want to give like a little, quick spiel, when somebody lands on your profile, if you are doing a LinkedIn live, your background photo turns into your live stream, which is kind of cool. And if you want to develop a newsletter, you have to be in creator mode. Right. And that's pretty cool. And then now with LinkedIn audio, you also have to be in creator mode as well. So, but in creator mode, the problem with this is people can still connect with you, but they have to do a few extra steps to get to the connection, because the only thing you can do in there is follow somebody. So with followers, people can follow you all day long, but the only thing they're going to see is your content. They can't message you unless they connect with you, and unless they've subscribed to your newsletter, they won't get notified. They'll just, see it in the feed. So, so there's the disadvantages to that. Whereas connections, you get a lifetime of 30,000 connections. And whoever said that you can't build a great business with 30,000 or less connections said it wrong. Okay, you can. Right. And so with connections, you can connect, or you can message people one-to-one. You can do like little group messages. You can actually go in and have a conversation where you cannot have that with a follower unless you connect with a follower. Absolutely. So in my experience from being on LinkedIn for as long as I have and working it, I prefer to have the connect button over the follow button for now. And I might switch back and forth if I'm going to develop a newsletter, which I haven't done, but I can switch back and forth because my goal is to drive business through getting new clients. Therefore, I'd like the connect button.
So you brought up newsletter, so I want to ask all of you. Have you ever actually accepted a newsletter?
Not really. Not really for me. Maybe just 1 or 2.
Zero.
But I don't look at it. So it's equivalent to not having.
I would say I've done it maybe once, and then I took them off because it got a little annoying to me. So I think it is.
Well, I mean, I think for people out there, they'll follow the newsletters that kind of fits within their, they want that kind of knowledge, so I get them all the time. And by the way, you can't stop those unless you go in your privacy settings and shut it off.
Yep.
You're going to get those, requests to join somebody's newsletter. So, or subscribe. That's why I haven't gotten them, because actually some of my competitors got the beta version and they had 30,000 subscribers, and they had 2.5 years before it got rolled out to everybody else, which sucked. So yeah, LinkedIn, they took forever to put that one in beta.
So so with the newsletters, Tracy, what do you think is the trick? Oh, okay, what do you look for in a good newsletter?
Well, okay, so the book behind me, LinkedIn Publishing to Profits talks about articles, publishing and articles. So I think the formula, and although we're rewriting the book here in second quarter, because a lot of it's really out of date. But I think the formula is still the same. You're going to get some subscribers when, for those who haven't shut off their notifications about subscribing to newsletters, they can, some of them will, subscribe. However, just because you put out an article doesn't mean you shouldn't promote it, right? You want to promote it. So within that book is like a promotion campaign. This is not a set it and forget it. Any content, like the content that you put on LinkedIn, you should be repurposing it somewhere else. Twitter, getting that link, sharing it with your email list, sharing it in your Facebook groups, sharing it everywhere. If it's a good one, don't just, take the LinkedIn algorithm at face value. You need to get out there and promote your stuff, period. So, and same thing with the newsletters. So I think regardless of how many people really subscribe to your newsletter, you can still promote your articles.
Okay. Can I just ask a question? Because you said earlier there are two things that people did right to get engagement. One is part, the other is consistency. Yeah,
Right.
I don't do much of the part thing, so I actually want to ask on the consistency thing, because every time you hear people say you have to be consistent, you'll be consistent, but what exactly does that translate to, or rather, how you advise your clients in terms of consistency? What exactly does that mean in terms of frequency of posts or content length, or what does it mean?
Okay. So that's different for every person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you have to test and track. But I will tell you this, there are some things to start with. For example, days of the week. So LinkedIn's content gets more engagement typically, but not always, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Mondays being everybody is like, oh, it's Monday.
Monday blues.
Right? And then Friday being, whoa, it's weekend, party. Right. And so they're not really, and then I'm not saying that's true for everybody. I have a colleague of mine, not a client, but her clients or her prospects are high-end CEOs. Well, they're on LinkedIn, but they're not playing in LinkedIn during the week because they're too darn busy, right? So it's Sunday nights when they're finally going and scrolling through the newsfeed. So she posts for Sunday evenings. I wouldn't post Sunday evenings. No one of my network's going to see it, right? So also think about the time zone too of where your people are at, right? So typically we start with this. We know that 75% of the population is in the East Coast time zone in the United States anyway, right? So we start there. I figured out a formula for me by just testing it, that even though I'm Central time zone, that somewhere between 7 and 7:30, I get the best engagement, AM. So like when people are getting up in the morning and they're having their coffee, they're scrolling through their phone, right? Next best time is around lunchtime. And then the next best time is right before they get off work. They're milking the last 30 minutes before 5 o'clock, right? So, and then I even have some folks that I know that are, they have a lot of connections overseas. So they're posting twice a day in LinkedIn, but one for the North America crowd and then one for the UK crowd.
Same post or slightly different? Or?
Maybe you could in the beginning, but I might change it up in case some of those UK folks are, during the day, that are on or whatever. So depending on where they're located. But yeah, so, I mean, it's something that you have to test, but start with that first, because LinkedIn, these aren't my stats, by the way. This is LinkedIn. LinkedIn said these are the best times to post, and, at least twice a week, and don't post more than twice a day. So I was on a prospecting call yesterday with this young lady, and she touted herself to be this, big, I work with these Fortune 500 companies and blah, blah, blah. And she's got a social media person. So I went in and looked at some of her posts, and it was done from a scheduler, which is fine, but she was posting 4 to 5 times a day.
Wow. And
so she wasn't giving the LinkedIn algorithm enough time to show it to her network. And so when it's posting that much, LinkedIn is just going to, we're not even going to show your content. So 1 to 2 times a day at the most. And if you're going to do twice a day, try it for the crowd, in a different time zone overseas.
Right.
And it's so true. So I've seen it for myself too, right? As an agency owner, so I have SS2 people, and I've tested both, right? I have it where, hey, my team helped me post as well, and I was like, okay, whenever you hit the 3 posts a day, 4 posts, it drops. Your viewership starts dropping like crazy. Right. So it's totally different, and every platform's different, right? And you hear people, you just blast the platform, the more the merrier. These social media platforms, the algorithm has changed so much in the last 2 years. And now I think these platforms are looking for genuine content. And in order to get more engagement, you have to engage with people as well. So that's not just liking a post or saying thank you, but actually taking the time. And like, I've gained clients from actually posting on, like, commenting on other people's posts.
Right.
They say something and I just talk about marketing like I would with my own clients. And then they ended up, hey, I love the way you put it. And hey, so now I want to engage with you and your agency. So I think about that too. Don't just work your feed, but also work on other people's feed. Because a lot of times there's other people posting their comments. This is where you can shine. You can show off your skill set. You can talk about sales if you're a sales guy. There's a lot you can do. And I've gained more clients that way. And I'm just going to be honest, than people who like my posts or engage with my personal comments. Like 60% of the LinkedIn business I get is people who never like my stuff or engage with any of my posts. And then they'll tell me, hey, Kevin, I've been reading your comments on someone else's post for about last 2 years. And I finally decided, hey, I need to contact your agency. Or out of nowhere, someone messaged me and go, I've been stalking you for the last year. And, and these are equal to dollars. Like these are paid clients,
He's not lying. That happens to me too.
I much rather have that.
One guy definitely goes, I've been watching you for 3 years. I've seen all your posts. I've read your articles and all your messages in the inbox, but now I'm ready to go. It's like, thanks.
What took you so long?
Yeah, exactly. But no, he's right. So just don't post just your own stuff. Trust me. Okay. So case in point, and then I'm going to give you guys another tip. All right.
Awesome.
A couple tips, one for the people that are free and one people that are Sales Navigator people. For example, I go and follow like some big influence, like for example, Russell Brunson. Anybody know that he's the CEO and founder or co-founder of ClickFunnels. And so I was actually connected to Russell before Russell was cool on LinkedIn, so he's hit that 30,000 threshold. And so I just started commenting on his post, which we all know he's got a VA replying to all those, by the way, because I know Russell's, how he talks, and this is not how Russell talks, but it doesn't matter. Now I'm getting people commenting on my comments. And so, and it balloons from there. So I go back in and I get notified by LinkedIn that somebody commented on my comment, right? So that I can go back in, and if they happen to be like a good referral partner or maybe a good prospect or something, I'm going to say, reply to those people, and I'm definitely going to go send them a connection request. And it's very simple with a personal note. Hey, thanks for the such and such comment on Russell Brunson's post. You seem like a cool guy. Hey, I think we should connect. Boom. They're going to connect with you. Yep. Right?
Yep. So, hey folks, looks like there's quite a few people on here, but, they're exactly like what we're talking about, right? They're not engaging or commenting or liking anything, but they're stalking us right now. So, hey, do me a favor, all of you that's on here right now. Don't leave. I'm not calling you out, but hey, feel free. Please comment and just give us a hello. We're not going to spam you. This is really, for me, this is like my fun time. So I get to talk marketing. I get to hang out with Jeremy and Eldrick and friends like Tracy. And we're just throwing nuggets, free nuggets.
Right.
And so feel free, comment, just say hi to us so we know that, hey, you're a real human and that you're on our show.
Not a bot.
All right. So here's my 2 tips. For those of you that are free or on business premium plan, so that's the regular LinkedIn, start keeping a spreadsheet of the people that you want to find their posts on a daily basis. So like an Excel or a Google sheet like that. So you can go directly to their profile or their activity link. Actually, just go grab the activity link and, put it into a spreadsheet. So that way you can keep track and go to those people's posts, not just the influencers, but like your prospects or people that you want to stay top of mind with. Okay. For those of you who are actually Sales Navigator people, this gets even better, right? So you go in and create a lead list. Now, these people you don't have to be connected with. So you set up a lead list, and then LinkedIn is going to alert you when they post something. And that's the homepage of Sales Navigator. And then every morning when you log in, you can go in there and start engaging with their content. Additionally, for the people that you really want, you could bookmark them as well. So you can just go straight, because you may have lead lists for like other things too. And LinkedIn's going to, or Sales Navigator is going to dump them all in that alerts. Well, you can go bookmark the ones that are actually the most important to you that you want to stay front of mind. So not just to influencers to kind of get some traction, like, Kevin was saying, he was commenting on other people's stuff and getting clients from it, right? But your hot 100 prospects or your hot 1,000 prospects or whatever you want is get the ones that you really want business from now, because when you stay top of mind, they may not be ready for you yet, but when they are ready, you'll be the first one that they talk to because you're in their brain.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Steve and Anna. Thanks for giving us a shout out. And Steve, you're welcome to stalk us anytime. So appreciate you. And and I think Tracy, you brought up a good point too. When it comes to staying top of mind, keep in mind LinkedIn is also a great referral source. So even if that person might not be a potential client,
right?
Just because you're always top of mind. Okay, just today, I had a client reach out to me, and they said they were referred by my friend. And I was like, okay, what's their name? And there's nothing wrong with this. And they said, you come highly recommended, Kevin, in your company to do marketing because I was referred by your friend. And then they brought up a name, right? And then it took me a minute because that person is just a LinkedIn connection. So we've never really even done a Zoom call or engaged, but they follow my content. So think about that. I came highly recommended. I never done a Zoom call, had coffee with this person, but I came highly recommended, So top of mind awareness is amazing. And I think Eldrick probably experienced this. I'm sure Tracy have. Jeremy, being the corporate guy, I don't know if you have. But
No.
But it does make a difference, right? So being active, just like anything else, I used to tell people, people always say, Amway and stuff is pyramid schemes, right?
Hey, I was in Amway.
Yep. So, all those things. Multi-level marketing is schemes. I'm a firm believer in them. I've made money doing these things, and when I was younger, before I was a business owner, but you got to work it.
Yeah, it's a business.
It's a small business, If you don't go network, you don't do these little parties at your home, don't expect anyone to buy anything.
Nope.
Yep.
So no one's trying to cheat you. They give you the system and they tell you got to work it. But most of us are too lazy to do anything. We expect this, hey, let's get rich really quick. Same thing with LinkedIn. Hey, here's this platform. I'm going to watch some YouTube channels. And guess what? I'm going to become a LinkedIn influencer and make millions of dollars. Well, dude, that's a unicorn. You got to work.
That's build it and they will come. Build a dream.
Build it and they will come.
Yep. So
yeah, you're dreaming.
Yeah, those are dreaming. So it doesn't happen. So you get on the social media platform what you put into it.
Right.
And even at best, you hire a VA, at best, you still have to pay attention to your inbox. You still have to personally respond because no one knows your business better than you.
Right.
And people forget that.
So
Go
Kevin,
ahead,
since we're on this topic on money, right? Are we gonna pop the $1 million question? How to make money on LinkedIn?
Eldrick.
Eldrick.
I probably know the answer, so I'm not very interested in this question anymore. But
Really?
it's always no, in a way that I have been a practitioner on this platform, and now that I've evolved. So Tracy, I'm more of a social publishing person now. So I do long forms. I think in the US it's very famous, right? I write a lot on Medium. So I do that, and then I use that to branch out to the various social media platforms. So that's not, social media platforms are no longer my first touch point, so to speak, but rather I just use them to push out
Amplify
what I write organically.
Okay.
I think the question that Jeremy is trying to get at is, so what's in it for me in terms of dollars and cents when it comes to our involvement on LinkedIn? I probably have an answer already because I've been there for a while, not as long as Kevin. So what's your take on it? I mean, like,
Well, you share with me what your take on it is first, and then I'll see.
I think I see LinkedIn. I see my LinkedIn account as one of the assets in my business, and because it's an asset, it takes time to grow. As with all products and services, the first customer takes forever, so you've got to work it.
Yeah.
You got to find it, and therefore the first dollar that's going to come from LinkedIn, the cost of acquisition is going to be very expensive, meaning time,
Okay.
meaning total number of posts that you're going to get, that you're going to do in order to get the first one, the number of comments that you're going to type before you get the first one. So I don't have a specific numeric answer to that, but if I were to master a guess from my gut, I think if you are consistent at working it, 4 to 6 months, you can get your first customer, but it's not going to be a high ticket customer. It's going to be a trial kind of customer. That's how I got mine.
Okay. So here's a question though. I did it a little bit backwards. I started building a network first because you can post all this content, but if you don't have a network, no one's going to see it, because the whole goal here is you start to get more people following you and seeing your content when your personal network starts engaging with that content, because their second and their third degree network are now getting notified that they commented, liked, or shared something. Right?
Agreed.
So you gotta have a network of people. Otherwise, LinkedIn has no one to show this to.
I think it's a matter of that's not how I think about it in terms of perspective. Not to denounce what you just said.
Right.
I think about it not in a very direct way. So in response to what Jeremy has asked to, one of the best examples I can think of, there are two unique European marketing strategies on this. And these are businesses that we know: Michelin, Guinness, Book of World Records. Why would a beer company be concerned to produce a Book of World Records? Well, because in 1952, beer sales in pubs plummeted. So the marketers from Guinness get to the pubs, the London pubs, and they're wondering, why aren't people ordering beer? And then they realized that everyone around them is talking about trivia. Who's best at this? What's the world record of this? Who has achieved that? And an idea came to them. Let's do this. Let's compile a book of world records, and let's be the registrar of these world records. So we put a book there to get people to keep talking about trivia. We brand it as Guinness. So as people talk about trivia, they are reminded of the beer and they go to the pub front and order a pint. Now, it's indirect, but it builds their core business. That's Guinness. Michelin. Why would they be bothered to rate restaurants?
The distance to travel.
Because they are an entire company,
Yep.
and they are based in Paris and London, and they're thinking, if I can rate restaurants that are in the suburban areas, I can get the rich guys to drive there over the weekend. In the meanwhile, in the pit stops, change the tires so that they can go all the way there to eat the good food and come back. So to me, I think like that.
Okay.
I'm not there to sell the book of world records or to read the restaurants, but by doing so, I built my core. So for me, LinkedIn as an organic reach is wonderful. I know it because I do a lot of Twitter work too. In part because a lot of writers and readers, they are more engaged in the Twitter ecosystem. But I don't see it as a core. I see it as a way to help me achieve my core. Just like Michelin, just like Guinness. So it's just a different way of thinking about it. It's how I think about it, not to denounce how anyone else is doing it.
Right. And I'm not disagreeing with you. And I think you're right. You know, that's branding, 100% branding, right?
Yep.
So like I said, content isn't always about your brand, right? It's about something else, but it's you and people are going to remember that. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, have you ever watched a commercial and they have a jingle?
Yep.
And every time somebody sings it, you immediately know what brand that was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Association, yeah.
It's association with that, right?
Mm.
So if you're known to put out, like, there's some influencers in there that actually post content that has zero to do with their whole goals of LinkedIn. Absolutely zero. They call themselves goodwill ambassadors, by the way.
What does
Everyone knows
that
what I'm
mean?
talking about, right?
What
But
does
then
that
but you remember them for that because they're the people that do those same posts over and over and over again that go viral, but you know their name and you know who they are because of that, because of the association with that. But I'm still old school LinkedIn. I'm still a very firm believer that it starts with your network. You start building relationships first, because then those people are going to start to see your content. They're going to share it with other people. They're going to engage with it. Therefore, other people are going to see it that you wouldn't been able to, get to see your content no matter how hard you tried. Right. And so that's how I feel, or that's how we use LinkedIn, and I still use LinkedIn. But I mean, I don't think your approach is wrong, but I know some of these guys that started out a long time ago on LinkedIn as the goodwill ambassadors, and they've been doing it for years and years and years, and you just know who they are. I think for you to start out like kind of doing something similar like that might be a little difficult at this day and age with that algorithm. That's my take on things. I could be wrong.
And I think it's important. I think we can all agree that you have to have, what are your goals? Why are you on LinkedIn? Because for me, I told my wife, if I don't own a digital marketing agency, if I don't own an agency, I can tell you right now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I'll be on social media. Because I, personally, when I'm off work, besides tonight, once a month, I hop on the show. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to just put my phone aside because to me it's work, because that's what I look at all day. So for me on the weekends, I try to not look at social media. So if I didn't have an agency, I don't know. Besides, and it goes back to Tracy too, besides the network of amazing people I've met over social media, and it seems like that's the way to connect. If I wasn't on social media, I wouldn't get to talk to Eldrick in Germany, and you guys are all the way in Singapore, right? So I look forward to, connecting. I'm not trying to sell anything to Eldrick or Jeremy because I know they won't buy anything from me. So there's different ways to look at these platforms. Sometimes people are just looking to socialize. And just when the pandemic happened, especially, everyone hopped on there because they were bored. There's nothing to do. We're stuck in our offices inside our home. So,
or it disrupted business and they all had to figure out a way to go remote and still bring in revenue. So we have this LinkedIn thing. We've kind of ignored it in the past, but now our whole world got disrupted. And so now we're scrambling. Now we got to figure out how to use it. And that's what happened.
So right when you said that, before we end tonight, I want to bring up two things, right? One, how do you stand out in your people's inbox, right, when it's so noisy? And then the second question I have for you is, how important is algorithm on the platform? How important, should people really care so much that it dictates how they do things on this platform.
All right, so let's talk about the inbox. So we discussed like just a little sample personal note with an invitation to connect, right?
Right.
It starts there. Do not use some generic, old, boring, whatever. Find some reason to connect with them, because you're going to improve your chances of getting that connection request accepted, right? And also, we didn't even talk about this, is the social selling index score. And so the higher your score is, that they have 4 pillars, and that's one of the pillars is your LinkedIn inbox, right?
Yep.
How many people are connecting with you that, based on how many invitations that you sent out, and how many people are you having conversations with in the inbox, right?
Right.
And so that they call that developing relationships. So have a really great personal note, because that's going to improve your chances of getting them to reply to you when you send them the next message and thanking them for connecting, right? So what we do here is we do kind of a funny pattern interrupt. I know there's automation tools, by the way. This, goes against LinkedIn's terms of service. So please use these tools wisely, because they can get you shut down. Yep. So just like using engagement pods. But you need something in there that not everybody else is doing. Everybody else is getting in there and they're going for the jugular, right? They are pitching you the minute you connect. Oh, no wonder more people don't respond anymore, is because all they keep getting is garbage in their inbox, right? So you got to be different. So find something in their profile that you find particularly interesting. Maybe go look at their company page. Why don't you go off of LinkedIn and start looking at, their website or anything like that. Find something in common that you have. All right. So when you can do a pattern interrupt like that, or a voice message. Oh, that's a cool one. You ever do the voice message from your phone? Right? That when somebody connects, and it's only good on your mobile, and send them, hey, this is Tracy thinking. They're like, what? Somebody sent me a voice message? Of course they're going to listen to it, right? Send them a video message. I use this cool tool called Dub, and we get in there and we send them a video, and it does a little GIF in there. They're like, I want to play that. What does she have to say? Right? Do something different. Be different in the inbox. Okay. So here's a quick little story before we get into the algorithm. So back in 2021, spring of 2021, this 2022, right? Wow. I'm still back in January. So I did a little I quote unquote did a podcast run. So I started connecting with podcast hosts in the business industry, because I wanted to get on some more podcasts, because I knew I was going to have a digital program coming up soon. And this was a great way to build my email list. So I went in there and I had the funniest connection message, but basically it said this: I'm on a frenzy for podcasts. I love of them. I like to connect with other like-minded business podcasters. And if you're willing to, if it's not too cheesy, let's connect. You know how many messages I got back with? I love cheese. This is not too cheesy. I don't like cheese, but that was pretty cool. I'm going to connect with you anyways. And trust me, I had an 80% acceptance. It was amazing. That was the highest acceptance I ever had. But here's what I did next. So anybody that replied to me immediately or didn't, I sent them a thank you message. I said, hey, I see, your podcast is such and such. And I've kind of taken a look at your podcast. I did. I went to their podcast first before, and I would probably listen to a little bit of it. And then I would say, it sounds pretty cool. I have a huge network. And if you're taking guests, if you're looking for a specific guest, I would love to refer you. Anybody that you're looking for. So I went off of providing value first, something for them, not for me. It wasn't what was in it for me, what was in it for them. And lo and behold, I got 20 podcast interviews within 6 weeks.
Wow.
And a lot of times they asked me, to be on their podcast. And so that was what was pretty cool. And yes, did I send over some referrals? Absolutely. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. If they requested one, I did. I would send them over several. And in fact, one of the ones, the referrals I sent was a past client of mine. He ended up being on their podcast and got a 6-figure deal out of him.
That's awesome.
I was like, I didn't get any money out of that.
Goodwill ambassador. Goodwill ambassador.
Right. We're
Goodwill
money.
ambassador.
Come on. No, I was happy to do it. You know, but I look like the hero. And that guy still messages me in LinkedIn. It's really pretty cool. So so if you can kind of figure out a way like that, look, I had a goal, right? My goal was to get on podcasts because I wanted to build my email list. So I gave my email list has something that's a free giveaway. It's my 30-point profile checklist, right? So when somebody's listening, they're going to go to that and put their name in and get this checklist. Wow, I just got somebody off of LinkedIn and into my own pipeline. Pretty cool, right? So I had that. That was my total goal for doing that.
So
and it worked very well.
That went in line with what you just shared on the profile part, right? What I can do for the employer is the same exact thing you did. What can I do for your podcast and not get me on your podcast, please? You know, it's
exactly.
more
what can I do
bringing
for
value.
You?
Yeah.
How can I benefit, you, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. So I think that's where it starts. And gosh, Kevin can attest to this. I remember when the LinkedIn inbox was super formal.
Yes.
You had to be, like it was horrible. It's like, yeah, Mr. Formal, Mrs. Formal. Yeah. I think the only time you would really want to be super formal is if you're trying to get in touch with the Fortune 50 CEO, stuffy CEO, right? Maybe you're a little bit more formal. But to be honest with you, the inbox now is very casual. And people can spot automation like that.
Because it's too formal, yeah.
So, yeah, just letting you know. So, all right. Did I answer that question, Kevin?
That's good. That's
all
great.
right. So you want to talk about the algorithm?
Yep. So, okay. So a lot of people are so hung up on algorithm, right? When it comes to social media. So how important is it? Or is it more important to just being consistent, right? So I want to hear from you. Yeah.
I really think that you should actually keep abreast of what is becoming more popular with the algorithm. And there, for example, there was a run with polls. Remember that? Everyone wanted polls. So
what happened to them?
Everybody and their dog is doing polls. Well, now LinkedIn is now kind of backing off polls a little bit. People are still doing them, but they're not getting quite the engagement that they were. In fact, I'm going to do a poll tomorrow morning because it's going to be funny, but just because I want to bump up my engagement again. We'll see if it works. It might not. Okay, that's good. And also because I was a little lazy and I didn't create any content for tomorrow. So that's probably one of the reasons. But anyway, so keep abreast of trends. See what the trends are in the newsfeed and try to emulate the trends. Okay, but I wouldn't, put 100% stock in the algorithm like that. You really got to cater to your audience, and that's what's really the most important.
Yep. So it goes back to really connecting with your tribe, the right people. Who are you talking to? And it goes back to is marketing 101, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people forget that when they're getting on these platforms, they're so focused on, how many likes I'm getting. I call it vanity metrics, right?
Right.
But are the people who are liking your posts or engaging, are they the people that are going to buy from you? Are they people that are opportunities that are going to hire you? The answer is maybe not. So
no, but it made you feel good for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what you're looking for.
It's longer than 5.
It's longer than 5. Yep. So I think it's important to look at all these things. Like, Tracy gave a lot of tips tonight. But, I started in 2004 on LinkedIn because I got laid off. So, and some, what they call a resume coach or whatever told me, hey, this is going to be the future. So you're a young guy. So back then I was a young guy. I'm not a young guy anymore. But so in 2004 I was a younger guy. So they were like, hey, you can do your resume on this platform called LinkedIn. So you'll get it because you're a computer guy. You're an engineer. So you should figure it out. So I started doing that in 2004. And I can attest to this. LinkedIn has changed my life because of career opportunities that it opened up doors to. I can say because I was an early adapter, it really helped me get into companies where I wanted to work. And I've met some amazing people who's helped me in my entrepreneur journey and along the way referrals. So, I mean, it's hard to quantify because some of those aren't leads, like they aren't a direct lead from LinkedIn, but a lot of them were game changers. So it goes back to Eldrick. You had the question, right? That Jeremy asked the question on your behalf because you changed you decided not to ask that question. Like, how much can you make on LinkedIn? So I can personally say I've made probably over 3 times my salary over the years, right? On LinkedIn because of the jobs I got, right? I got some amazing salary jobs opportunities because of LinkedIn. And even at a time when I was unemployed, I ended up helping a startup and they pay me really well because they found me on LinkedIn. So you have to look at all these things, and then it only takes one. People forget that, right? I've had where 2 years I get nothing on LinkedIn, and it's exactly what Tracy said. Out of the blue, there's a client that hires my agency for over 6 figures, out of nowhere, right? And this happens every day when you're on this platform long enough. It's an investment. Like if you look at my stuff, I don't have amazing engagement. Look at my posts. I might be lucky. I might have 5. It's Eldrick, Jeremy, maybe Tracy, and Ryan Partial always likes my stuff. Like people I know likes my stuff, right? And you're like, what's this idiot doing? He's on LinkedIn all the time. I've been probably hanging around, 14,000 connections, 13. But you got to remember, I've been here since 2004. Right. And, 7,000 of it was just career stuff, right? When I was in the logistics industry, people connected with me. When I was, when I lost my job, I went to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I connected with some people. Half of those guys were Enterprise employees. So, but guess what? It only takes 1 or 2 opportunities that can be the game changer. And over the years, I see it every single day. And that's why I believe in the platform. And that's why I'm on here. I'm posting. I'm active. Because who knows? Maybe I lose my business 2 years down the road, And guess what? I'll be on the hunt again looking for a job. And LinkedIn's going to be valuable. It's my resume. So,
just case in point, today I've got another goal on LinkedIn because my digital course is going to drop in the next couple of weeks, and so I'm getting back in front of my first connections. And what am I doing? I'm asking permission if they would like my 30-point profile checklist, before we launch the program, which is actually part of the program, right? I'm giving it to them. I only give it to my paid clients to keep track when we coach them, right? And so one of the connections I have is a big CEO of a big Dallas healthcare company. And guess what he did today? Called me out of the blue on my phone, like out of the blue. I didn't even know who it was. I usually get robocalls. I'm surprised I answered it, And he's like, because we were talking about he was going to send me a referral to a CMO. And then we started talking about tie-dye shirts. This is all on LinkedIn, by the way. Tie-dye shirts and music. And he's country like, I can't wait to trade in my suit and my bow tie for tie-dye shirts and jeans. And so it was the funniest thing. And guess what? Lo and behold, he's like, he goes, I'm just the boss. I'm sending over to my marketing officer. And I'm giving you a warm introduction. This is a $700-something million company.
Whoa.
Right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, amazing. And then you know what he said when he got off the phone? Anytime you want to talk music, call me. This is a CEO of a $700 million company.
CEOs are humans too. CEOs are humans
because
too.
We had a casual conversation. Now, will it go anywhere? I don't know. But I would never have gotten that opportunity had we not had that conversation.
Yep.
Awesome.
So LinkedIn is powerful, people. It's really powerful. Don't get discouraged if things don't happen right away, right? I always say go for the low-hanging fruit, but you got to stick in it for the long haul.
Yep.
I just want to
Awesome.
say one thing before we end the night. Specific to say the freelancers, to people who hustle, people who try to build their business from scratch after work. For me, one principle is important. I think if you are concerned about revenue, your income, all like the fun coupons that buy stuff, do take note that the money you want is behind the person you meet. So be a bit, come with an intent on the kind of people or client profiles that you want to meet. And they can be anywhere. So, case in point, if you write, if you try to make money off the internet, if you are a freelance writer, if you are a copywriter, you probably would require Twitter a lot more than LinkedIn. And that is a strategic choice because a lot of writers, editors, readers, they hang out there. So to you, if you have an intent to build your freelancing career after your 9 to 5, think where you want to invest your time, effort, and energy. And I think that matters because chances are platforms are going to grow, they're going to multiply like rabbits. Okay, everyone's going to have their own algorithm. Their algorithm is going to evolve, and it's not about them. It's about you and what you want to achieve. And I think that's important. If you can find your target clients or your business partners on LinkedIn, then try to find a way to get there and get in front of them. So what I'm trying to say is that don't start out. I think a lot of us, we do it sort of the wrong way. Like we are there to experiment. Let's have fun. Social media is good. There's viewership, there's posts, there's engagement. But if you are very directed, you know what you want already, you want to achieve these goals, you got to come with a little bit more intent. And there's nothing wrong being on Instagram or any other platforms or TikTok. Just know what you're out to achieve and the people that you want to meet, where they are. Just spend your time there. I think that would be a better way. So circling back to the main topic, depending on what you do, yes, LinkedIn can be dead, but you never know. Experiment a little, know exactly where you're going to meet your prospects and your clients. I think that's important.
Yeah, Aldrich has a point. When you sit down and you develop your prospect profile and your intent or your goal, right? Business objectives and goals, figure out which social media platforms are best for your business and finding those people. And it may not be LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is both for business to business and business to consumer, but it's a little more difficult on the business to consumer side. For example, if you're an e-commerce brand, you're probably better off being on Instagram or TikTok than on LinkedIn, unless you have something that is more offered for the corporate side of things, for example. And Twitter. I mean, I disagree with you on the freelance stuff. If you're a writer or copywriter, Twitter might be where it's at. But I think if you work with businesses or small businesses that they need emails built, right? They're written, right? Or sales pages or website copy. You might want to be on LinkedIn as well as Twitter.
And Substack.
Right.
So,
all right.
So, Tracy, what's the best way for our viewers to follow you or reach out to you if they need some LinkedIn pointers?
Well, I'm the only Tracy Enos on LinkedIn, I believe, that has a picture. I was the very first Tracy Enos on LinkedIn. So you know, I am claiming that. I know this for a fact. But Tracy Enos, I'm the girl with the purple picture or the purple behind it. And so it won't be hard. It's ENOS. So if you think Dukes of Hazzard, Enos from Dukes of Hazzard, you spelled it right. And then they also we are actually moving from one software platform to another software platform. So give it a couple days and we will be up and running with get my 30-point profile checklist and a PDF copy of the book behind me. The whole first chapter is about your profile. And that is at www.theultimateprofilechecklist.com.
Ooh, that's a good domain.
It's good.
So, well, before we end, my mom always say, right, when it comes to meeting the right girl, you gotta go to the right place to bring home the right wife, right? You don't go to a dance club to bring home someone to mom. So, anyway, think of it that way when it comes to LinkedIn. It's the same thing. You got, or any of these social media profiles. Who's your target? Where do you go to bring home, your wife or husband? All right. Have a good night, folks. Later.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, everybody, for
Have a
joining.
good morning for some of you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tracy.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you for
everybody.
the audience with us. Thank you.